isn't just business news, we're news for business people.
Hello and welcome. You are watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Pradeep Pandya.
Hi everyone, and I'm Ravneet Saluja D'Souza. Well, this is the show where we address all your stock queries, so you can write to us on Twitter, Facebook, or just call us on 022-4540-4141. You can also mail us at askbq@bloombergquint.com with all your financial queries, and we'll try and address as many as possible on the show. Just remember to add the AskBQ hashtag.
Well, before that, let's have a look at how markets are doing today. Trying to set a new record on the first day of the new series and the last day of the calendar year. 10,512 is the level, very close to the year highs. Let's see what happens in remaining part of the day. Both the indices, Sensex and Nifty, have remained in a narrow range, and so have been small cap and mid cap doing a tad better than the key indices. VIX has also gone up a bit on the very first day of the current series. What is moving up is auto for sure. Tata Motors and Maruti have led. Also Lupin amidst mixed news flow is doing well in today's trade with good volumes. But Arcom, JP Associates, these are some of the big movers of this week, and they continue to better their record on the last day. JP Power is the one which has gained the most on the news of some more bidders getting interested for buying the assets. Dredging Corporation, second day of smart run, 6.5%, 7% up move on Dredging Corporation. Also, you have some more PSUs like IFCI doing well in today's trade. Real estate is mixed. HDIL is the key gainer, while DLF is a loser. And also, interestingly, one stock which has crashed today is Infibeam, down around 15-16%.
Well, that's about the markets. But on that note, let's get in our two experts of the day. Independent market expert Sharmila Joshi and Rakesh Bansal of RK Global are here to answer all your queries. Welcome to the show, both of you, and good afternoon. Well, let's straight away start with our viewer queries. Sarthak Khandelwal writes to us on Facebook. He has 2,000 shares of Jindal Steel and Power, which he bought at a price of 190 rupees. Sarthak has a long-term view, and he wants to know what should he be doing with this investment. Well, clearly, Sharmila, it's been a great year for metal stocks. Jindal Steel and Power is up almost 200%, but looks like he's bought at higher levels of around 190. What would you advise him?
Yeah, I think for me, the only concern is the price that he's bought at. Otherwise, I'm positive on the stock. I think, what this whole Arcom deal has done is it sort of put all stocks which have leverage or debt also in a very positive light, because, no longer is debt seen as, the villain of the piece, so to speak. And JSPL has already done a lot, in fact, to pay down their debt. They've been consistently doing things, and as of last quarter, they did announce that a lot of their debt was now normalized. Their numbers were also fairly good. Their capex is done. I think that's the other big positive, because now everything that will come will sort of contribute directly to the bottom line. Their Odisha, they just announced 2 days back, that is also commissioned. So I think, a lot of positives for JSPL, and to add to the fact that metals globally are in an uptrend. And that is sort of combined with the fact that the government is also doing a lot of things to protect the sector. So I think all things have sort of fallen into place for JSPL after a really long time. So I would have a target of closer to 230, 240. But perhaps I think for him, the only concern would be the price that he's bought at. But since he's a long-term investor, I think he can continue to hold.
Okay, so that's the call on JSPL. Also, there is a newspaper report today that suggests that all the banks have kind of come together and they are trying to appeal to the RBI to take JSPL out of the list of those big stressed assets. Well, whether it happens or no, that we'll have to wait and see. But most banks agree that JSPL is actually a standard asset and not a potential NPA. So that could be a driver for the stock as well. Moving on to the next query, Rishikesh Relekar writes to us on Twitter. He wants to invest in Ramki Infra with a one-year view. He wants to know if this is the right time to get in and the right stock as well. Ramki Infra, do you track it, Sharmila?
No, I'm afraid not. But yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's better to take a.
Is Rakesh with us? Rakesh, if you have looked at this chart, what would be your advice? The stock has moved up by 266% this year already.
Good afternoon, Pradeep. Pradeep, I feel one can buy Ramki Infra at current levels with a one-year perspective, and I am expecting a level of around 295 to 300 on Ramki Infra in next 1 year. So it's a decent buy at current levels.
Okay, so Ramki Infra is a decent buy at current levels, but the stock has been giving you a good return in the last 3, 6, 9 and also 12 months. Let's move on and take more queries. Pradeep Hegde has written to us on WhatsApp. Well, I guess he's holding shares of KEI Industries, 200 shares he's holding, and I think he's holding around at a price of 310 rupees. He's got a long-term view here. He wants to know what should he be doing. Sharmila, do you track KEI Industries?
Well, the sector as a whole, I'm positive on. So I think if he's a long-term investor, see, I mean, at the end of the day, the sector has been in all kinds of trouble over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's only off late that we've seen sort of orders beginning to come their way. And I think in that sense, KEI Industries is a good bet within that space. So I think he can continue to hold the stock.
Okay, the next question is coming from Zain Salot. Well, I hope I am pronouncing that name correctly. He writes to us on Twitter. He has 100 shares of Fortis Healthcare bought at 151 rupees with just a 1 month view. Rakesh, do you think this is a good trading bet with 1 month's perspective? He has bought at 151. Fortis Healthcare is the stock.
Well, Pradeep, I feel if one is bought at 151, then one must hold because stock has resumed its uptrend at around 148, 149 levels. And in next 1 month, the stock can demonstrate a rally towards 169 to 172 levels. So with a 1 month perspective, one can hold, and on the higher side at around 169 to 172 levels on the upside, one should try to take profit.
Okay, that's the view on Fortis Healthcare. The stock has given you returns of almost 13% in the last 3 months, but on year-to-date basis, like other pharma counters, Fortis Healthcare has not done too well. So today also it's trading just about mildly in the green. We're getting a lot of queries on Facebook and Twitter. Let me just start off with Twitter queries first, and this one comes from Jay Kishan. Jay Kishan has bought 100 shares of PNB Housing at 1,460, and he's got almost 150 shares of Canfin Homes at 470 rupees with a 2-year view. Jay Kishan wants to know what should he be doing with both his investment. Sharmila, PNB Housing and Canfin Homes, would you suggest him to hold on?
I'm actually positive on housing finance as a space because I think that while in real terms, real estate numbers, the sales have not been have been hit this last year largely because of demonetization as well as RERA. Hopefully, we will see some change in that trend in this coming year. And I think affordable housing is the theme to play here, and there is a government thrust on more homes coming within that space, and tier 2, tier 3 cities are what we should be looking at. And I think the kind of geographical presence both a Canfin Homes as well as a PNB Housing has makes me relatively comfortable on that bit as well. So I think if they're long-term investors, you can definitely continue to hold.
Okay, so Jay Kishan, you can look to hold on to PNB Housing as well as Canfin Homes, as Sharmila is bullish on the housing finance space. Our next query comes from Anup. He's bought 200 shares of Tata Power at a price of 82, and he's pretty much in the money as the shares currently quote around those levels of 93. Rakesh, on the charts, what would you suggest? What sort of targets do you see for Tata Power on the upside?
Well, Navneet, I feel stock is a decent hold at current levels and a good buy on kind of a stock. Any decline to around 88, 87 levels is in levels, 87, 88 levels on the downside are the levels at which anybody can buy. One should add on declines at around 87, 88. And I'm expecting a level of around 110 to 115 on the upside in next 3 to 4 months. So one should hold for a target price of 110, and on any price decline to around 87, 88 levels, any viewer can add on decline also.
Okay, so that's the call coming in on Tara Power. Granules India is the next stock that our viewers are looking at, and that is from Rishabh, who has written to us. He hasn't really mentioned the time frame that he's looking forward. Sharmila, do you track Granules? Any views?
It has been a buzzing stock, I think, of late. So it would have been interesting to know what price point he bought at and what the perspective was. Because I think now the stock is getting to sort of a very fairly valued kind of a zone, but there has been some kind of positive news flow for the stock. So I think if he has a longer term view, he can definitely continue to hold. But as I said, it would have been interesting to know what price he bought it at, because I think at around that 9500 kind of level, that was a good level to
What
get
about
into.
at current levels? Would you suggest a fresh investment here?
So that I would be a little circumspect on, because but there has been positive news flow for the stock, so that also will come into the price hopefully in the earnings in the next couple of quarters. So I am comfortable with holding the stock, but perhaps not buying new.
Okay, so if you bought Granules India, Sharmila suggests you can hold on to your investment, but she's not recommending a fresh investment at current levels of almost 138 on Granules. Let's move ahead and take some Facebook queries now. Advait Vaidya has written to us. He wants to invest in Axis Cates with a long-term view. He's asking if these could be the right levels for one to enter into this. Rakesh, I'll come to you. How are the charts of Axis Cates looking?
Like the charts are clearly suggesting that the worst is over, and we have seen a good rally from around 115 levels. We have seen a breakout above 155 levels. I feel even at current levels, stock is a good buy. Stock has made a good base at around 175, 178 levels, and stock can demonstrate a rally towards 260, 265 levels in next 1 year.
Okay, that's the view on Axis Cates. In fact, today the counter is not doing too good in the last 12 months. That is for this year. It's up almost 15%. Our next query comes from Dhaval Bayani. He's bought 100 shares of Satin Credit at 325. He's got a 1-year view. He wants to know what he should be doing. Can we check where the current level of Satin Credit is, as Dhaval has bought it at 325? Okay, so he's making good amount of money. 459 is the current level. Sharmila, would you suggest him to book profits or hold on?
I think he can continue to hold, because I think when you talk, if you get into a debate of banks versus NBFCs, I'm clearly in favor of NBFCs, because I think that while on the sort of negative argument, you can say that cost of funds is going to get more expensive for NBFCs going ahead, given the fact that we are not likely to see bond yields, we are not likely to see interest rate cuts, etc. I think they've been able to address a niche in the market where there was a banking of there was an absence of banking, and they've been able to really reach out to clients within that space. And I think Satin Credit, again, in the kind of geographies that it is in and in the kind of offerings that they have, they're doing a good job. So I think if he has a year's horizon, he can definitely continue to hold.
Okay, that's the view on Satin Credit Care. You can look to hold on to your investment, Dhaval. You've got 100 shares at 325, and the shares today are coding around the levels of 425. Okay, our next query is from Shine Piramal on Facebook. Shine has bought 200 shares of India Bulls Housing at 600 rupees, and she wants to know what should she be doing. Can we check the current levels of India Bulls Housing? More than almost doubled, I would call Shine's investment. Bought at 600, today the shares are quoting very close to 1200. Rakesh, on the charts, what would you suggest Shine to do? Book profits, or can you suggest higher targets on the upside?
Well, Navneet, to me the stock is a clear hold, and I am expecting a level of around 1500 in 2018 on India Bull Housing on the upside. She has bought at a lower price at around 600. Stock is a clear hold, and if any viewers wants to add, then one should keep a close eye on 1210 levels. When the stock cracks 1210 levels on the upside, then it would be a upside breakout, and then we might see a level of 1300 in short term. Stock is a good buy at current levels, even from a long term point of view.
Okay, so iBull Housing is a good buy even from a long-term perspective. Moving on to the next query from Rajesh Dayal on Facebook. He has joined us live, and Rajesh wants to invest in Equitas. He wants a view for 1 year, with a 1 year perspective. Sharmila, I believe he wants to get in now. Equitas, is it a good buy?
Yes, in fact, I think I had recommended this stock last week on Hot Money, because again, just coming back to what we were talking of for Satin Credit, where we were saying that I prefer NBFCs to banking. I think Equitas is a good play to look at this price. Their overall move, towards that small finance bank, they're going very logically and in a very phased manner in that, and the kind of relationships that they're building. Yes, I think there will be pressure on some of their financial parameters in the next couple of quarters, but I think all the moves that they've taken and all the steps that they've taken will sort of start showing for them positively in the next maybe 2 or 3 quarters down the line. So I think if you have that kind of a horizon, year plus, then I think this is a great stock to buy or hold at these levels.
Okay, so that's the view on Equitas holdings. Sharmila suggests one can look to hold on if they have bought this stock, which is scoring around the levels of 148. We've got some more queries coming in on Twitter. Let me take Sakti's query first. He's bought 50 shares of Philip Carbon at 950 rupees with a long-term view. Wants to know what Sakti can do. Can we check the current level of Philip Carbon? This is a counter which has been pretty active this year. So just 30 rupees in the money, 980 is the current price. Rakesh, on the charts, what would you advise to book profits, or if you could also suggest a stop loss?
Well, I'll suggest a clear hold, and I don't think stock is likely to go down below 915 to 920 levels. If one wants to place a stop loss, then one should place a stop loss at 915 levels, and one should clearly hold stock for a target price of 1080 to 1095 on the upside in next 1.5 to 2 months.
Okay, that's the call on Philips Carbon. Gaurav Garodia has attended to us on Twitter as well, and he wants to invest in Dish TV with a long-term perspective. What do you advise, Sharmila?
Well, I think if he hasn't bought it, he shouldn't, because I think, there are concerns to my mind, for the sort of the business model that Dish TV is in. So, I mean, if you had it, I would say hold, because, in that sense, it is a group company of one of the largest sort of media companies that we have around. So, maybe not too dangerous from that point of view. But I think, with the kind of the advent of the new sort of things that we are seeing.
It adds value to the Z group because you have distribution under your control.
Yes.
But it doesn't add value to the shareholder, actually.
It hasn't, very honestly, in the last year and a half, it hasn't. And I think that there is a lot of new technology that is coming, which might make, life even more difficult for companies like a Dish TV going ahead. So I think if you haven't bought it, don't.
Okay, so avoid Dish TV is the call coming from Sharmila. Our next query comes in on Jayashree Tea. Amit Chandak has written to us on Twitter. He's bought 100 shares of Jayashree Tea at a price of 135, and the shares today are trading around those levels of 116. Rakesh, what would you suggest Amit to do? What are the charts of Jayashree Tea suggesting?
Like Navneet, the charts are positive. In fact, we have seen a good rally at around 135, 136 level. Unfortunately, the entry price is near to the top, but I feel one should clearly hold, and if the perspective of the buying is trading, then one should place a clear stop loss at 109 levels. If the stock makes a closing below 109, then one must exit, else one should hold. And I am expecting a target of 140 to 145 on the upside in next 2.5 to 3 months.
Okay, so that's the call on Jayashree Tea. The next query is from Rajesh on Jamna Auto. He has written to us on Twitter. Sharmila, have you been tracking the stock? It has.
No, I'm afraid not.
No, Rakesh, what's your view on Jamna Auto?
Like Pradeep, if you see, the structure is clearly positive. Stock is making new lifetime high. Anybody who has bought at a lower levels should continue to hold, and the stock is clearly a buy on decline kind of a stock. And I am expecting a target of 99 to 100 on the upside in next 6 to 8 months.
Okay, target of 99 to 100 on Jamna Auto, and clearly it has had a great year, up almost over 140%, quoting around those levels of 81. Sai Aditya has written to us on Facebook. He's bought Rain Industries at 340, and he's got 100 shares of Rain Industries. He wants to know what are the long-term perspective he's willing to hold for around next 5 years, and he's also asking if he should be buying more of this on any sort of correction. Sharmila, what would you suggest? Rain too has had a great year. And largely, these stocks have done well because of the environmental norms which led to some shutdowns in China. Do you think this sort of performance can continue going ahead?
No, I'm afraid I'm not like the biggest fan of Rain Industries. So I think if he has made money, does he hold the stock or?
He's holding, and he's also asking, he's holding 340 100 shares, and he also wants to know if he can buy more on any sort of dips.
So I would actually clearly book out of Rain Industries.
Okay, 600% return in a year. I mean, that's a dream run. Let's move on to the next query from Prashant Dattatray Joshi. And Prashant has MCX 250 shares bought at 1,078 for 6 months. He would be losing some money here, I guess, if he has bought at 1,068, 70 levels. But what's your view, Sharmila? 6 months probably it's not that long enough, time horizon to hold an exchange.
Yes.
Right? It's a long-term story.
I think if you had asked me this question maybe a week back, I would have been very positive on MCX, given the fact that, commodities as a business, the way the kind of volumes that they do globally is really something that everybody should look at, because, they far outstrip equity volumes, and we have a long way to go in that sense here. And, we are very really scratching the surface in the kind of commodities we trade, the kind of strategies we have, etc., etc.
And just one option, actually.
Exactly. And I think the new spanner has been that other exchanges are now allowed. Yeah, so you don't know, so you don't know how that is going to upset the basket of MCX.
No, but my query is, you have long experience in broking industry, you would know it much better. I mean, people are used to trading with NSE, they don't really shift to BSE, right? BSE has not been very successful. So do you think NSE or BSE can take away clients from MCX?
See, at the end of the day, when NSE started, BSE was already existing. But it was a matter of like couple of years before NSE took away the entire, the lion's share of volume. So anything can happen. And yes, I would in fact argue the other way around and say that people are far more familiar with NSE as a trading platform. So if you just had to have another window.
There is some sort of threat of market share, because so far they've been the leaders in commodities market.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the only, I think that's why you need to track this stock going ahead. I'm not saying sell it, I'm not negative on the stock, but I'm definitely not as positive as I was. But
let's say, can that get compensated, because they are already there in equities, but they've not been able to garner that sort of market share, so to say, for equities. So with commodities market share going away a little bit, can that get compensated by equities, which they've not been able to do so?
Yeah, anything can happen. But I would largely say that you have to still look at it as a commodities play, and you have to go with the argument Pradeep was making, that if people are used to a certain platform, they're not likely to shift to another platform, and you have to sort of build your buy case theory on that. But at the same time, you have to track it going ahead as to see how these other exchanges are also taking up the challenge of introducing commodity trading.
Okay, so that's the call coming in on MCX. Next query is on Jubilant Foods from Prakash Sirvi. Prakash wants to know, he's holding Jubilant Foods 100 shares at 1,610. What's your long-term view, Rakesh, on Jubilant Foodworks? Right now, he's sitting on decent profits, I guess. 150 rupees per share is what he's gaining.
Well, Pradeep, my long-term view is clearly positive, and I'm expecting a target of 2000, 2050 on the upside for the stock in 2018. Stock is a clear hold. Purchase price is at around 1,610. It's a clear hold for a target price of 2000, and I'm expecting these targets to come in next 6 to 8 months.
Okay, so hold on to Jubilant Foodworks. The counter is also active in today's session. It's up almost 3%. On Facebook, Mohammed Jamal writes to us, and he has Bata India at 730, and he's holding 200 shares. He wants to know what should he be doing. Rakesh, on the charts, what's the view on Bata? 747 purchased at 730. What would you suggest?
Well, Namrit, I feel stock has made a good base at around 720, 715 levels, and I'm expecting a level of 800, 805 on the upside in next 3 to 4 months. Stock is a clear hold for a target price of 805 to 810.
Aditya Shah has a query on Mahanagar Gas for a long-term perspective. Rakesh, what's your view on Mahanagar?
The view on the Mahanagar is also positive, although the stock is going through a correction, but on the downside, like 1000, 1020 is a big base for the stock. I would suggest a one should hold and add on declines, and I'm expecting a level of 1240 to 1245 on the upside in next 8 to 10 months.
Okay, so hold on to Mahanagar Gas is the call from Rakesh. Aniket Patil on Facebook writes to us. Aniket wants a view on BL Kashyap. He's holding 1,000 shares of that company at a price of 57 rupees and his time horizon is almost 2 years, and the shares today trade at about 66, bought at 57. Sharmila, do you track this one?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, I'll just take a technical view on this. In the last 12 months, the share has given you returns of over 200%. Rakesh, would you suggest, Aniket, to hold on to this? If yes, what sort of target price would you suggest?
Well, Navneet, I'll suggest a clear hold. We have seen a big breakout on big charts at 50 levels, and I'm expecting a level of 95, 96 in next 1 year on the stock. Stock is a clear hold for a target price of 96. And if anybody wants to trade, take a trading position in the stock, then also one can buy BL Kashyap at current levels with a stop loss at 57 levels. Once the 57 stop loss is on a closing basis, one should exit if the stock makes a closing below 57. Else, I'm expecting a level of around 73, 74, 75 on the upside in short term.
Okay, Finolex Industries is the next stock that Ravi Kumar wants a view on. Sharmila, do you track Finolex?
Yes, I think, both the companies, Finolex as well as Finolex Pipes, I think, both cables, I think the other one is. Both, I think, look good to me at, from a fundamental perspective. I think for Finolex Industries, what we are seeing is, in fact, all the pipes of different types, we are seeing a good demand coming across, and perhaps that is also sort of linked with crude prices and the fact that they are going up. So, companies tend to spend more to do that last connectivity, as well as pipes in agricultural space, building space. Everything is seeing a good demand. So overall, I think that sector is something that can be looked at, and I think definitely Finolex Industries within that space looks good.
Okay, and our next query is on Syntex Industries. Chandan Berry on Facebook has written to us. He's asking if Syntex Industries is a good buy at current levels from a medium-term perspective, and the stock is trading with gains of 4%. Rakesh, today, would you suggest, Chandan, to buy Syntex at these levels?
Well, Navneet, I'll clearly suggest one can buy Syntex at current levels. Stock is having a good base at around 23 levels. Around 23, stock has also made a double bottom, and in medium term, I am expecting a level of around 39.40, and at around 39.40, one should take profits.
Okay, 39.40 is the target which Rakesh suggests on Syntex, where one can look to book their profits, and he's also suggesting you can look to make a fresh investment at current levels at about 26. Well, on that note, I would like to thank both our guests. Thank you very much, Sharmila and Rakesh, for joining us today and helping our viewers with their queries, and wishing both of you a very, very happy and profitable 2018. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Ask PQ.
But remember, we are just a tweet, post or a call away, so keep your queries coming, and we promise to address all of them through our shows. You can also log on to BloombergQuint.com, search for hashtag AskBQ and get answers to all the queries that were discussed on the show. Power Lunch is up next. Keep watching Bloomberg Quint Live.